Good afternoon and welcome to LSJ Today, live from the University of Lincoln. My name's Liam Ray.
And I'm Eleanor Weaver. We have all the news and sport from around the region. But first, our top story.
Furious taxi drivers have stormed out of exams the City Council have insisted they take. Cabbies in the city were told they must sit BTEC tests in customer care, public protection and health and safety. I went earlier to find out more. Cab drivers in Lincoln are often the first people tourists and commuters see when they enter the city. But do they offer a respected level of customer service? Well, City of Lincoln Council have decided to put drivers through BTEC courses in customer service and public protection. And it's been revealed that a number have walked out after seeing the opening questionnaire. And here are some of the controversial questions, from asking which bag looks best to asking what's on TV, when the answer is fairly obvious. However, there are mixed responses when we spoke to some of Lincoln's taxi drivers.
I think there's a lot of things in that, from what I understand, with the MVQ and the BTEC course, that a lot of drivers could benefit from learning.
I don't think it's for us, actually. I think it's to sort people out who can't read and write, but that's only my opinion, or are colourblind or something.
There are a number of taxi drivers that aren't, the most intelligent people. I think they could benefit from learning.
There are a number of taxi drivers who are still to sit the BTEC course, but the council strongly believes that the course will be good for drivers in the long run. Liam Ray, LSJ Today. Work on the Lincoln Eastern Bypass will begin in the next 3 or 4 months, after the plans were given the go-ahead by the government. The single carriage road will be run from the Rugby Road roundabout to a new roundabout on the A15 Sleaford Road. Here's our reporter Adam Tomlinson.
The Lincoln Eastern Bypass was approved in its second public inquiry on Tuesday. The original plans were rejected after safety concerns were raised over a footbridge drawn up over the Hawthorne Road. The bridge was redesigned and subsequently accepted by the Department for Transport. Their spokesperson said, "We've approved the Lincolnshire County Council's plans for a new Eastern Bypass after reviewing findings of a planning inspector's report following a public inquiry held last year. We look forward to working with the council as the project progresses." Hawthorne Road will be closed during the work, but plans are set to ease traffic congestion around the city.
It's needed as well. Lincoln suffers from terrible traffic congestion, and for our members and businesses generally in Lincoln, they're wasting so much time stuck in traffic jams and at traffic lights that if some of that traffic's going around the side of Lincoln, then that can only be good. It's a shame that it's not going to be dual carriageway. That would be so much better if it was.
So the bypass begins where the current North Hycombe bypass ends, at the Rugby Road roundabout.
And will finish here, on the A15 Sleaford Road, just outside of Bracebridge Heath.
The bypass is expected to be completed by 2017. Adam Tomlinson, Bracebridge Heath, LSJ Today.
14 venues selling food and drink across the city have a hygiene rating of just 1. The Food Standards Agency lists the 14 places online as needed major improvement after food inspectors visited them. Kelly Pyat has this report.
Food, it not only drives people's appetites, but a whole industry. And for customers choosing the right place to eat, it can often be the deciding factor behind whether a business lasts or not. And a hygiene rating for different venues can often put customers off if it's low. And for the 14 venues across Lincoln with their low hygiene rating of just 1 star, it can make them suffer.
Now, being in the food industry can be hard enough, but for the barge here behind me, they have a 5-star food hygiene rating, which means they can attract customers from not just across Lincoln, but visitors that visit the Brayford also. Now, for food businesses, food hygiene can entail random spot inspections by food inspectors from the City of Lincoln Council. This can include them going through their paperwork and looking at their general cleanliness and tidiness across the venue.
The Food Standards Agency lists all of the businesses' ratings online, and the ratings range from 1 to 5, meaning major improvement is necessary, through to very good. But why does having a top rating matter?
It's very, very important because obviously when you're dealing with food and people who are eating your food, you must be absolutely where everything is perfect, more than perfect. Where you're working and how you prepare things and the food that you serve. your crockery, everything. Everything just has to be perfect, more than perfect.
The hygiene isn't just for safety though. The rating is also all about the customer experience and helps to add to it.
I mean, the other thing is that everybody knows they come in here, they can see my kitchen, they see me working, they see me cooking. And this is all part of the experience of coming in my kitchen.
Kelly Pyatt reporting for LSJ Today.
The government has called for a national focus on mental health after a review revealed that 75% of people haven't got the support they need. Kat Talbot has more.
A review into mental health services revealed inadequate and underfunded care, which has led to thousands of unnecessary deaths. The report by NHS England revealed around 3/4 of people with mental health problems received no help at all. Despite 1 in 4 people experiencing a mental health problem each year, the government spends less than 1/10 of the NHS budget on the problem. The recent announcement from Prime Minister David Cameron means that an extra £1 billion a year will be spent on mental health by 2020. Charlotte Brunt, president of the University of Lincoln's Mental Health Society, believes there's a lot to improve on when it comes to supporting those with mental health problems.
I mean, I was diagnosed 2 years ago and it was so hard getting into the system because I find like you get either ignored if it's not too serious because the criteria to be diagnosed is so strict, and if you don't meet that exact criteria you just get completely waylined almost, and if they put more money into it, more people can get help, and that's the main thing.
Ministers hope that the increase in budget will mean less people will be left uncared for. The investment has made many promises. It aims to pay for an extra 600,000 people to get access to talking therapies for conditions such as anxiety, depression and stress, mental health teams to be put into all A&E units, and more support for pregnant women and new mothers. However, this is not the first time the government has promised to improve mental health. In 2011, the coalition government launched a similar mental health strategy. This gives fears that the promises won't last. At the University of Lincoln, students took it into their own hands to offer a support system for people suffering from mental health problems. This year, they created a society for people to go and get support.
On a personal level, obviously I suffer from mental health myself, and I find it just helps me feel less alone. Like it's normal almost, my feelings about being nervous or in social situations. It helps me feel like, okay, what I'm feeling, other people are feeling, and I find it really easy almost to talk to people who know what they're talking about, if that makes sense.
There's a lot to improve on in the strategy from the government, and back to you, Ellie.
Thanks for that, Kat. Still to come on the programme. The latest unemployment figures for Lincolnshire have been released.
A campaign is underway for a new projection equipment for a Lincoln cinema.
And we'll find out about the shocking amounts of sugar in high street coffees.
Lincolnshire Police have called on students from the University of Lincoln. Drop-in sessions are being run every week by volunteers from the university. It's hoped they will bridge the gap between the police and the community.
Every Tuesday and Thursday, the volunteers are available for people to discuss any issues they feel are affecting them. We asked what it takes to become a police volunteer.
Yeah, we had 2 sessions of training, both 3 hours long. They were looking at things like handling property, crime prevention, health and safety, just like the general things that we'd have to go through.
And we've got good links with the police as well, so we have the local PCSO come round and see us when our drop-in is on Tuesday mornings and Thursday afternoons. So that helps us sort of keep in touch with what's going on in the local area and how students might be affected.
And now for the rest of the news from around the region. Cuts to bus services and Shaw Start Children's Centres in Lincolnshire have been cancelled. This comes after Lincolnshire County Council received an extra £7.7 million in government backing. The funds come from a £300 million pot set aside by government for struggling local authorities.
More people in Lincolnshire are working. That's according to new unemployment numbers released today. The Office for National Statistics figures state that more than 1,000 people are now working across the county in comparison to last year. In Lincoln itself, just over 250 more people have been employed since 2012.
Lincolnshire Police have been suspended today from the Best Use of Stop and Search scheme. The system, which was launched in the summer of 2014, states that a stop and search must not be carried out based on race or ethnicity. Lincolnshire Police joins 12 other forces that are said to have not complied with 3 or more of the scheme's requirements.
And Lincolnshire Police use and deploy more tasers on suspected criminals than any other force in the country. In 2014, the force used tasers 332 times. Lincolnshire Police are defending the usage and state they point in order to obtain compliance. Now it's time for this week's Tech Talk with Martin Hollinshead. I've heard Apple are kicking up a bit of a fuss, Martin.
Indeed there has been, as Apple have decided to take on the FBI. They're opposing a court order which would force the company to provide access to the phone of the San Bernardino killer, as they feel this could threaten customer security. But just how much of a threat would this court order pose to people like you and me? Well, let's take a closer look.
Think different. That was Apple's message to the world in 1997, and it's an ideology that's being practiced today by the company in a stern response to the US government. In order to access the phone of Saeed Farouk, an iPhone 5C, the FBI have asked Apple to create a unique operating system which would bypass many of the security features built into the phone's software.
So what exactly does the FBI want to be able to do? Well, there's 4 main points at stake. Number 1 is they want to stop the phone from erasing itself. So if you go into the settings, there is an option you can turn on which erases all data on the iPhone if someone enters the passcode incorrectly 10 times. Now, number 2 is they want to make it possible for a computer to enter passcode combinations. So Farouk used a 4-digit passcode which has 10,000 possible combinations, but with a computer this could be cracked in just a few seconds. Point 3 is they want to remove the security delay feature, so when you enter a passcode incorrectly, the phone prevents you from entering another code for longer periods of time. Now I'll just demonstrate that for you here. Basically, when you tap it several times, so you're entering a code incorrectly, eventually the iPhone will disable itself, just like that. And this is something else that they want to remove. And number 4 is they actually want to work with Apple by controlling the process, as opposed to knowing how it's done, meaning Apple would be able to keep the software from being released into the world.
Apple's response to the FBI was given in a letter to its customers, in which CEO Tim Cook said he did not want to introduce what is known as a backdoor to the system. He writes, "The United States government has demanded that Apple take an unprecedented step which threatens the security of our customers. We oppose this order, which has implications far beyond the legal case at hand. The moment calls for public discussion, and we want our customers and people around the country to understand what is at stake."
Now, the CEO's main concern is that if the software falls into the wrong hands, it would have the potential to unlock any iPhone in someone's physical possession. So only time will tell then if the FBI will be able to twist Apple's arm on the matter. But moving on now, and it seems that the Pope is continuing to have a difficult week after being pushed over the other day, as the crew on board his flight from Cuba to Mexico last Friday have reported a laser beam incident. The plane, which was travelling from Havana with the Pope on board, was preparing to land when the laser was spotted. The airline Alitalia has said that no crew or passengers were injured by the beam. However, it has once again sparked debate on whether or not devices such as these should be legal. And finally, Twitter has released a new built-in GIF button. The feature lets users search a catalogue of quirky animated pictures using keywords, categories, or reactions. It will be available on all mobile devices over the coming weeks and will be similar to GIF keyboards already available on Facebook and Tinder. Ellie.
Thank you very much, Martin. Now, the Ritz Cinema in Lincoln is in need of new projection equipment. The independent cinema on the High Street is fundraising for new equipment to improve the experience for its audience. They hope to raise £4,000 for the works. Our reporter Will Longman sends this report.
The Ritz Cinema on the High Street used to be the place in Lincoln to go if you wanted to see some of the world's biggest stars. However, after the building was left dormant for years, the seats were ripped out and the whole place was effectively gutted. It's quite a challenge to bring it back up to speed.
It took about a year and a half to actually get to the point where the building could be open to the public, and the council was satisfied with licensing and that all those kind of issues, and we had enough toilets and all the wiring and all the plumbing was up to scratch.
Rob manages the cinema now, and he's turned it into a tribute to traditional cinema. It includes this small shop out back, featuring all sorts of movie memorabilia, which is all for sale. Now they're trying to go one step further, and they're turning to crowdfunding for more help.
I believe it's a 16-year-old projector now, so it was second-hand when we got it, and it's very, very much had its day. The projector we've got isn't full HD at the moment. It isn't as bright as we'd like. It's not as sharp as we'd like, and I come from a cinema background, so it's kind of one of those things that's always annoying when you want it to look good and it doesn't. But that's one of the reasons why our prices are so cheap. We know we're not up to scratch for commercial cinema yet.
They hope to raise £4,500, and so far, in 2 days, they've already made 415. If you'd like to help out, visit www.ritzcinema.org, and you could help restore this building to its former glory. Will Longman, LSJ Today.
A new report has revealed the high levels of sugar in hot drinks sold on the high street. Emma Tinson has this report.
Members of the public are putting their health at risk by ordering hot drinks from high street chain cafes that contain large amounts of sugar. Action on Sugar found that 98% of the 131 hot flavoured drinks found in the big high street chains would carry a red warning for excessive levels of sugar if they were forced to label them. The main names on this report's list were Costa Coffee and Starbucks. So maybe the better or healthier option is to go to coffee shops more locally. I spoke to the owner of Coffee Aroma about why sugar is needed in these drinks.
If you want a nice coffee which actually tastes of coffee, then take out the caramel latte, take out the vanilla sauce. They're not necessary. Coffee tastes nice on its own. There's no need for it, and then you'll take out all the sugar, because most of the sugar, well, almost all the sugar was in the sauces which they're added to it, or the whipped cream. That's where the sugars are. You don't need it. Take it out.
More than 1/3 of the drinks tested were found to contain the same or higher levels of sugar as a can of Coca-Cola. Emma Tinson, LSJ Today.
And now it's time to join Will Longman with a roundup of the week's biggest entertainment news.
We start this week's entertainment with Guy Vallarino. He's a Gibraltar singer-songwriter, and over the last 2 weeks he's been touring over 15 universities. On Tuesday he was here in Lincoln, and we met up with him and he gave us a special little song.
I started in Gibraltar, so I started playing in a band called Blackout, and we were like a covers band of mates, really. And then slowly started getting into writing, and we all came over to the UK under the guise of going to university, to try and bring the band out here, because as Gibraltar is such a small place, there's not really a platform to build a sustainable career in music. So.
You fight, say, world come get me, held your head up high.
So we thought the UK is the place to go. So we came here, and when everyone goes to uni, we all kind of like went our separate ways, and I just wanted to continue as a solo artist. So that's when I started playing more acoustic guitar and writing on my own.
Done for so long, yes, and we're so proud of that. And thanks for all you've done, and thanks for all your...
It all kind of like started up more rocky, I suppose, because of the covers. We used to like cover stuff from like Foo Fighters, Stereophonics, like Pearl Jam, Muse, stuff like that, which was really fun. But as a solo artist, even though I find inspiration from those artists, I do prefer when I play on my own to play more kind of like indie folk kind of stuff. Last week I did 12 shows, and now between today and tomorrow I'm doing 5. It's really great to get out and sort of play these new songs to new people that have never seen me before, which has been great, and the reaction so far, the feedback's been really good, so I'm really happy with it. 5 years time, well, hopefully I'll be playing sort of the festival circuit. If it's not the main stage, the kind of like don't know, the second stage or whatever they call them at various festivals. I'd love to be, have a couple of albums under my belt and just a sustainable, career and be making a full living from music.
Thanks for all your love. It lives on in us.
If you want to see more from that session, it will be online later on our YouTube and Facebook LSJ News. Now, in other news, the NME Awards were last night, and while Coldplay were the stars of the show, their night was spoiled a little bit by these guys. Bring Me the Horizon trashed their table during their performance of their hit song, Happy Song. Amateur footage emerged later on and showed Chris Martin in a less than happy mood. And finally, for the first time in 25 years, The Simpsons will be doing a live episode. At the end of an episode in May, Dan Castellaneta, who voices Homer Simpson, will be using motion capture technology to answer viewer questions and talk about things that have happened in the day. The Simpsons is always innovating. This is the title sequence that they let Banksy have a go at, and they've also done a crossover episode in the past with Family Guy. That's all your entertainment. Back to you in the studio.
Now we'll have a look at what's been happening in our sport with our sports correspondent Lucy Hickmott. So what have Lincoln City got to say for themselves after that dire performance on Saturday?
Well, Lincoln City goalkeeper Paul Farman has said sorry for letting in the howler that led to a 3-3 draw against Altrincham. The Imps were 3-2 up when Farman decided to show off his skills. Sadly, they allowed poaching forward Damien Reeves to nip in and equalise. A red-faced Farman tweeted an apology to the Imps fans, saying he'd be working on his first touch this week. The City boss accepted the apology.
That's the stamp of the man. Yeah, he was desperate. His first thing he said, I do apologise. I want to go out and do the press and put it right. And fair play to Paul.
City play Southport at Sincilbank on Saturday, and midfielder Greg Tempest says the Imps still have an eye on a promotion spot.
If we win Saturday, we're in there again. And that's what I think it's best to be outside of the playoffs then, isn't it? Because you're just always pushing in it rather than being in it. It's obviously you've got to stay in there. So I think we're in a good position at the moment.
Meanwhile, Lincoln United are up against Gresley FC in the Evo Stick First Division South. They were held to a 0-0 draw against Stocksbridge Park Steels last Saturday, despite a few near misses. In other sport, England's women's cricket team beat South Africa by 15 runs in their 2020 match. After batting first, England finished with 147-7, but South Africa only managed 132-6. Lord Coe says he's ready to ban Kenya's track and field team from the Olympics if the country's athletics federation doesn't comply with the World Anti-Doping Agency code. Kenya missed a deadline last week to prove it was tackling cheating. This comes after a number of positive drugs tests among some of the country's athletes and allegations of corruption. And British Olympic long jump champion Greg Rutherford has pulled out of Saturday's Glasgow International Grand Prix with a minor injury. That's all your sport for now. Back to you.
That's all we've got time for today from us here at LSJ. Before we go, here's just a quick reminder of our headlines. Cabbies in Lincoln have stormed out of exams in customer service and hospitality.
Thanks for watching and goodbye.
Goodbye.